It's rare when it happens, but it does happen when a podcast comes along that changes lives, that opens eyes, and genuinely does it to enlighten, inspire, and empower. That is what we're here to do. Welcome to EeezDrop, the podcast where we invite you to eavesdrop on unscripted, candid conversations that'll hopefully change your life. Everyone is invited to the table, regardless of your beliefs or background. We're here to discuss real-life issues that pertain to all of us, whether you're God's favorite girl or guy, or simply someone looking for insights into life's challenges and triumphs. Speaking of God's favorite girl, EeezDrop is proudly powered by GFG Evolution, a company that's all about guiding you towards your evolution. Our aim is simple, to help you find your solution through growth and evolution. We won't force our beliefs on anyone. We're here to foster community and spark evolution. We'll be joined by remarkable guests who shared their personal experiences and stories. And as you eavesdrop on these conversations, you'll find nuggets of wisdom that can help you on your own journey of growth and self-discovery. This is EeezDrop. Let's explore the reality of life together. And now your host, God's favorite girl, Olayinka Lockhart.
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday, guys. We are so sorry about the delay. StreamYard has been having some issues for the past half an hour. They're saying that they had higher traffic than normal, but there has been an issue with the server from earlier today. So I shouldn't be surprised, but I thought it was resolved by now. So my apologies once again. We are live on YouTube. And I think we just got live on Facebook. Just check that. Someone please send me some comments so that I can know that you're there. We have our guests waiting, and I am so sorry because this is such a busy man. He's about his business, and we need to get to it. We're on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. Hallelujah. And God gets the victory again. He gets the glory again and again and again. Hallelujah. So I'm just going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that we could get into it. Welcome to EeezDrop, where you get to eavesdrop on our conversation. And I'm positive that you're going to hear something to help you evolve. EeezDrop is powered by GFG Evolution. And in GFG Evolution, our whole motto, our philosophy is your solution is always found in your evolution. So no matter what it is that you're dealing with, no matter what it is that you're going through, if you have a money problem, keep on growing. Go back to school, start a business, take some financial literacy classes. Keep on growing. And I promise you, you would find your solution in your evolution. The same thing with friendship issues. You keep on growing. Those bad leaves, they can fall away. You can grow some from new leaves. And that's just the philosophy of life. Your solution is always in your evolution. Don't ever remain stagnant. Keep on growing. Keep on going. Keep it moving, sis and bro. Thank you so much for tuning in to EeezDrop. You know, you can watch EeezDrop and not be a part of GFG Evolution and God's favorite girl, as well as God's favorite guy. Yeah. And we're people who don't mind being reminded of who we are according to God's promises and his word. We stand firm in that. And so welcome again. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties we have been facing, but we're going to get right into it. I don't want to prolong this anymore. I had our guests waiting for half an hour, so we're half an hour late. My apologies again. We're going to dive right into it. So I have a very exciting guest. This weekend is Father's Day weekend, and could you believe I forgot? Like what? And I have a remarkable father in my household, so there's no excuse. We gotta up our game with these fathers, y'all. And so we have a perfect person to talk about fatherhood. This gentleman has been married for 35 years. Listen, now you know I was just 35 yesterday. So all my life he was married. Well, kind of, sort of. He is married. He is the father of 3 incredible children. I see someone is commenting. Thank you. Thank you so much. No weapon formed against GFG will prosper. Listen, in the name of Jesus and by the power of his blood, because I don't do this for me and I don't do this because I'm bored. I only do this because I feel Holy Spirit is telling me to do it, and God keep on telling me, move, keep on doing it, no matter what the fights are. Listen, I wanted to give up a minute ago. I wanted to say, man, it ain't gonna work. Let's just put it off. It's easy to give up, but my husband told me something some time back. He said, learn to love the fight. Stay in the fight. Just keep on staying in the fight. And that's the devil's tactic. His tactic is for you to give up, because if you don't show up, he wins. But he knows that you have the victory because we are the righteousness of God in Christ. So all we have to do is show up and we win. Just like that. Anyway, the show isn't about that. The show is about Mr. Harold Antor, who is an insurance mastermind. He's the CEO of TriStar Insurance Agents and Brokerage Limited and First Care Medical Plan. He's also a servant of God. So here you have a married man of 35 years, a father of 3, an insurance guru, an entrepreneur, owner of his own company, and a man of God. All that wrap up in one. So you know this can be good, right? Let us welcome Mr. Harold Antor.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Very
I
good.
appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
I appreciate you sitting there with us, just helping me trying to figure it out, because I didn't know what I was doing on Facebook.
Yeah.
But Holy Spirit didn't work it out again.
We're here.
So, Mr. Antor, I know some stuff about you. I'm going to give this opportunity to you to tell the people what you want them to know about you.
Oh, that's a big one. For the purpose of this particular event, given that this is a discussion around fatherhood, you mentioned that I've been married for 35 years to the same woman, by the way.
That's important.
Yeah. Sabrina and I got married June 16, 1990. So Monday coming is going to be 35 years. And we have 3 children. The first one is Harold Devon Antor. Devon is now 31. And my daughter is Shannon Alexis Antor. Shannon is now 27. I don't know how many people are out there listening to this, but if she was here, she'd be rolling her eyes because I'm telling her age to the world, right? And that's my only, I have another daughter, but that's the only daughter that my wife gave me. And then there's my last child, Jonathan. I still call him the baby. We still call him the baby, even though he's 25 years old. So everybody's essentially up and out now because they are adults. Devon lives in New York. He's doing pretty well. He's in finance in Manhattan. Jonathan is also in finance, and he's in London at UBS. And Shannon is a teacher. She's back home, and she's at Summit Academy. So everybody's doing well and quite happy.
Very well. And so let's just dive right into fatherhood, right? So, well, all the time that I have known you, you have been a father. All the time that I have known you, of course, you have been a husband. All the time that I've known you, you have been a businessman. And I want us to go back because there's a lot of things that we could talk about. And what I'm learning now at this age is experience is the best teacher you could ever have. So yes, we, younger and tech savvy and we read more books, but there is something that experience teaches. The longer you've lived, the more you know. And so I have lent my ears now to people like you who have lived longer than I have experienced more than I have. There's so much wealth of knowledge that you could offer. And so I want you to talk a bit about being a present father, and give us some advice. I have the first question for you. How old were you when you became a father?
I was, I think I was it 28 or 29? I think I was 28. Devon was born, I was born in 66, so I'm 59. Devon was born in 1997.
That's
Sorry,
30.
sorry, sorry, sorry. Devon was born in 1994. Shannon was born in 97. So yeah, I was 28.
28, yeah, 28.
I'm 28, yeah.
And how did that change your life? Like, what prepared you to, were you prepared? Did you have the tools that you needed? How did that make you feel? And how did your personality change when you became a father?
Um, you know, I was not, it was not my plan to become a father at the time that I became a father. Um, the the story behind that, this is a little funny story. I don't know if my wife is listening, but we got married in 1990, and Devon was born in 94 in April when we were in college. We went to college in 91, and my plan was to get straight through. Oh, yeah, she is listening. Yeah, she just gave me the eye. She just gave me the eye because she didn't know I was going to tell this story. But this is what happens to answer your question, right? My plan was to get through 4 years of college and then come back home and start a family. Sabrina and I went to college together. So we went to college as husband and wife. I did not have the traditional college experience. My mother, I came from a single parent family. My mother couldn't afford college. So I went to college at 25 when I was able to put a couple of dollars together. And that was shortly after I got married, which is at 24. So my plan was to get through college and then start a family. But my wife had different plans, because literally midway through college, we went to college in Langston, Oklahoma. We'd never been to Langston before, so both of us, we got up and left the Bahamas, went to Langston, Oklahoma, and we were living in a little town right about 13 miles from there called Guthrie. And obviously we had no friends because we were all new to the place, right? And our life was basically schools, because she went to school with me too. So she'd have her classes, I have my classes. But she got very homesick and so forth, and basically she gave me an ultimatum. She said she want to go home or she want to have a child.
So you chose the child.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what happened. Yeah, so that was the ultimatum. I remember that day very clearly, and she wanted to go home, and she couldn't take it no more, and missed her family and all of this stuff. And so she said, to stop the crying and the bad feeling and so forth. I said, okay, we'll pack up and go. But the only consolation, she said, okay, I'll stay if we have a child. I said, okay. And that's how that went down. That's the God's truth.
Wow. So
Devon was born in 94. We graduated in 95.
Well, you didn't lose much time. That didn't delay you any further.
Well, when it happened, we had just completed or was about to complete the second year. So I only had 2 years of school under my belt. I had 2 more years to go. So if you, from the time that incident happened to the time you graduate, that's 2 years essentially. Because when we left school, Devon was born in April of 94, and we graduated and left Oklahoma in May of 95.
Wow. Wow.
So
So
your question is whether I was ready. I really, that was not my plan, but because we made that decision, I got in gear.
so how did you get in there? Like, how did you know what to do? Did you have a father that taught you how to be a father? What did you do? Did you call mommy and daddy and say, hey, what do I do? I'm having a baby. How
Well,
did you know?
well, we were in Oklahoma alone. It was just the two of us. Mind you, we got to know some people, but still, they're not your family like that. So, um, Devon was born in Oklahoma while we were in school. The story about how that happened is a different story. We don't have the time for that, but that was interesting in itself. Um, and Sabrina's mother was not there. There was a friend who we got to know who provided some assistance, but we really had just gotten to know her because, again, we'd only been there for 2 years up to that point. There was no other father or a mentor or mother around. With respect to me, um, I did not grow up in a home with a father. I met my father for the very first time when I was 16. And the fact of the matter, it wasn't until years later that I realized that I was the product of an affair between my mother and father. And so I found out years later that my father actually had a wife and children. And that was, I guess, the reason why he never gave any attention to me. So I met him when I was 16 years old for about probably an hour or so. I met him one more time, probably again for another hour. I haven't seen him for 30 or 40 years. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's alive or dead.
So what did he have to say when you met him in that hour?
What happened was when I was 13, and I remember that day, my mother sat me down and told me that my father, my real father, is in Miami. And she had an address for him because I thought another gentleman was my father, right? And he had left as well. So it was really us. And I'm the oldest son. So when I was 16, I got a ticket and I went to Miami to meet this guy. And the first thing he said to me when he saw me was, he said, "My son, I think about you every day."
Wow.
That was the first words out of his mouth. Not even hi, how you doing, how you found me, nothing. He banked around the corner. I went to he had a business. He was a mechanic. He had a shop that he owned and operated. And I came there. I asked to speak to him because my mother gave me his name. And he came out, banked the corner, looked at me, and he said, "My son, I think about you every day."
So it was that noticeable that you were his, and did you recognize him yourself in him?
When I saw him for the first time, there was no doubt he was my father. Yeah, it was just striking. Actually, what happened is before I saw him, I walked into the mechanic shop, and there was a guy all the way in the back of the mechanic shop doing some work. He had on some blue overalls, right? And he was complaining about something, but because I was somebody who came to the shop, he turned around to look to see who it was. And when he turned around, it was like I was looking in the mirror. He was my big brother. Yeah, I still don't know him. I really don't even know his name. I can't remember his. That was the first and only time that I've seen him in my life. That was less than a second. He and I have never spoken to each other.
So if his response was, I think about you every day, then how did you guys lose contact after that?
My only conclusion is that his wife had a very strong influence. I've never had an opportunity to talk to him about that. If I'm 59 now, he got to be, I don't know. I really don't know if he's alive. He got to be in his, my mother is 80, my mother is 89. She'd be 89 this year. So he might have been a year or two. So I don't know if he's alive. But I've never had a chance to speak to him to ask him any questions. Now he has other children. The guy who I saw, I think, was his youngest child, who was older than me, right? And I met my sister, his daughter, and I also met my older brother, who I understand was a doctor in Boston. But I've never spoken to him. I met him one time for about probably 30 minutes. He and I have never spoken, you know. So that family is completely estranged, but that's my father. That's my biological father. So because of that, I made a conscious decision that when I have children, I will not do that. So I made a conscious decision that I was going to be very intimately involved in my children's life. My children have never met their grandfather, not on my side. Fortunately, their grandfather on their mother's side is still alive, and he's still very active, you know, comes to the house all the time, and they go by him. He's 90 years old or 91. But on my side, So I made a conscious decision that I was going to be a real father to my children.
So your experience taught you what not to do.
Precisely. And, you know, that goes back to the point that you was making about experience is the best teacher, right? And years ago, one of my pastors said, he made the comment, he said, learn from other people's experiences because you won't live long enough to have them all yourself. Mm-hmm. So I learned from my biological father's experience, you know.
What not to do. That's powerful. So then how did you know if you were getting it right?
You know, let me say this. Having come down this far, where my kids are all adults now, I think the formula is relatively simple. And the formula is love and do the best for your children so that they can be all that they can be. Love and do the best for your children. That's really all children want. You know what I mean? They want to know that they are loved and cared for and that you are doing your best. Like my mother, you know, like I said, I went to college at 25 after I got married, right? My mother is just so you know, both of my parents are Haitian, right? My mother in the Bahamas, so you know what that some of the, you know, partly what the connotation of that is, right? We live very, very poor. My mother was a domestic; she was a dishwasher at the hotel. She was uneducated and so forth. She could hardly write a name. In fact, when I'd go to the bank with mommy, in order for her to get stuff, money off her account, I would watch her mark her X because she couldn't write a name, right? So came from very, very humble background. But what I knew, and my mother was not one of those who was very touchy-feely. She became touchy-feely late in her years. When I say touchy-feely, I mean hug and kiss, and so she wasn't, you know, she was in that. But later in the years, even today when I call her now, you know, for the last 20 years or so, she'd say, you know, I love you and so forth and so on. But we didn't grow up with that. And, you know, when I say that the formula is pretty simple, I mean that my mother did not verbalize I love you. But everything she did was a clear demonstration of love. You know what I mean? She wanted the best for us, the best that she could afford in terms of um, a house that was a home. I wouldn't get into um, um, how we lived and some of the places we lived. It was not pretty, but it was what she could do. You know what I mean? And for a long time, I did not realize that we were not. It wasn't until I started to get a little older in my teens that I began to realize that we were poor. You know what I mean? Um, but we were loved. You know, my mother didn't hug me and kiss me, but you know, she looked out for us. She took care of us. She did the best that she can. So what I'm saying is that the formula for raising children is to love them. Now, me, because I did not have that, I made it my business to be affectionate with my children. So even today, my son is 31. I still hug and kiss him, you know, and I enjoy doing that because I remember hugging and kissing him when he was born. You know, I remember hugging and kissing all of them, mind you. When I say I started with Devon, but Shannon and Jonathan as well. I mean, I hug and kiss them even to today because I want them to know that they are loved and they know that. So that's one part of the formula. The other part of the formula is do your best for them. I understood the importance of education. And one thing my mother taught me, as we had no money, but she made sure that we went to school and went to church, right? Even though you didn't want to. And, you know, I get beaten from not even wanting to go to church and all this stuff. I remember them days when I had to go in the church bus with my snotty nose crying because I didn't want to go to church. But no, you go into church. So church and school, Sunday school, and go to school and do your homework and so forth, because doing your best is giving your children the best chance to make it in this world. So education was important. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, I must say that in a lot of ways, education, formal education could be very expensive, but the kind of education to get a child to the point where they appreciate the value of education doesn't have to be very expensive. You know what I mean? Public school, I went to public schools until you know, we were able to do a little bit. Actually, you know, my sister nagged my mother so much that my mother could not afford private school, but because she was nagged so much by my sister, she tried to put her in private school, couldn't afford it. So that didn't work out. But because my sister went to private school, and when that ended, I kind of forced my mother to send me to private school. That was Catholic High in Grand Bahama. And at the time, I went to Catholic High from 79 to 83. The school fee quarterly was $185. And mommy could not afford that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was $185. So I had to go to work, right? So I went to work to help out because I was the oldest son, right? And there was other kids around because I have there's 6 of us. But the education part is what I'm talking about in terms of making, if you don't have money, but you could get your children into school, even public school, they could learn enough. If you stay with them, you know, keep them out of trouble, keep them out of bad company. And my mother would tell me that all the time, you know, the issue with bad company, and keep a watch over your children. If you love them and give them an opportunity to be educated, provide discipline, which means that you don't let your children talk to people any kind of how, you don't let them talk to you any kind of how, and you keep them in church, between Sunday school and the environment and the preaching and so forth. They'll pick up enough that when they get to a certain age, they'll begin to understand and appreciate that I may not become a billionaire or multi-millionaire or whatever, but I can become a decent person to contribute to the community and to be able to take care of myself if I apply myself, which is essentially what my mother did for me. And for all of us, all of her children are doing well in a lot of respect. My sister, most of my family live in the United States now. One of my sisters, anyway, all of them are doing reasonably well. Who came from a Haitian woman who was a single parent who had no education and had to wash dishes at Lucayan Bay in Freeport to take care and put food on the table. You see what I mean? So, and I say that to say that the formula is not big and deep, and love your children, do the best that you can for them. And by that, I mean, make sure that they get education, they get church.
So I have a comment for you.
Education is a way out. Church is a way out.
My God. So Madeline Archer said, Mr. Antor was always a great man. I remember him when I was a young lady growing up on 8 Mile Rock.
Who said that?
Madeline Archer.
I remember that name.
And then she seconds this. And you know what? We need to have another conversation, because we got to talk about how the Haitians raise their children and these points that you're giving us versus what Bahamians are doing. Because you're from Freeport and Madeline is from Freeport, and she's saying the same thing. She said education and Jesus is the keys to a successful life. In life, we can get by without a top-tier education, but we can't get by without Jesus.
I can't add anything to that. So the formula for raising children is not that complicated. Love your children, let them know that you love them, and do the best you can to give them an opportunity and a way out.
So what gives you confidence that your parenting skills has worked or was working or is working?
Let me say, you don't know until you get out on the other side to be able to determine whether or not what you were doing was the right thing. Because even today, sometimes Sabrina and I would look at each other and say, did we do everything right? Did we go wrong in any particular way? Or where did we go wrong? You know what I mean? We still do that. So I can't say I am reluctant to say that I am a guru of parenting and so forth. But let me say this, that because we still deal with issues today, right? Like I said, I have a 31-year-old, I have a 27-year-old, and I have a 25-year-old, right? And when we were going through that period where you had young adults, late teenagers and young adults, right? Where you have to deal with children coming home. In my day, we used to go to parties from 7 o'clock, 12 o'clock. If you coming home, I was like, my God, where you been? Right? 1 o'clock, for God's sake, you can't even get in the house. Are you crazy? Getting in the house 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock was a huge deal. You come home 1 o'clock. These days, these children going out at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, they just leaving the house. I was like, y'all got to be crazy. So remember now, I got 3 teenagers that I had to go through this period with. And those were some challenging periods, because I am home 2-3 o'clock in the morning, up trying to wait for my child to come through the door so I could go to my bed and go to sleep. You know what I mean? And then when they come home, it's an argument before you go to bed.
Who's arguing? You arguing or they arguing?
Oh no, I gotta argue now. What's your problem? You see what time it is? I gotta go to work tomorrow. Oh daddy, the party even ain't started. The party, you supposed to be in the house. How you expect me to have somebody coming inside my house at 2-3 o'clock in the morning? How you expect me to go to sleep and sleep fine? I gotta be up for 6-7 o'clock to go to work. Here it is, just 2-3 o'clock in the morning. You out there, you are and people getting killed in Nassau because of fights at bars and so forth. Right? Accidents are happening in Nassau, and I gotta go to bed, sleep comfortably because you want to go to party. That is the exact conversation, right? Now, mind you, I got 3 tiers of kids. So I have the Devon period. I have to have that conversation. I got the Shannon period. I got to have that conversation. Then I have the Johnny period. I got to have that conversation, right? Because that's their space in their world. That was not my world. However, in one of the arguments, one of the kids, and you probably know which one, because you know 3 of my children, made a comment rowing us back, right?
We clap back. Oops.
Made some comments rowing us back that I remember this clearly. We're sitting in the sofa, you know where my family room is, and this one coming through the door, and we having this row, and the comment was, you getting so hard, y'all are so hard on us, right? You don't want us to go out late. You don't want us to have certain friends. You don't want us to do this and do that. But compared to the issues that other people are having with their children, we have never been to the police station. We have never been in trouble, never been this and never been that, and so forth and so on. And the child laid that on us and gone in the room. And after that conversation, I look at Sabrina and I said, and I didn't want to say it with the child present, and wasn't a child at the time, young adult or whatever. I said, Sabrina, that child got a point, right? I didn't want to acknowledge that in the child's presence. I said, but the child got a point. The point is, we've never been to the police. We've never had any fights and argument, blah, blah, blah. Your question to me was, how do you know that you are doing okay, right? And my point is that we made it through. And the child also said that they ain't got no children out there. They ain't got no baby mamas or baby papas and so forth. No child, no police, no elite, no drugs, no this and no that, right? I was like, as much as I don't like to admit that, but the child has a point. But anyway, it's still 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's put this argument to bed and move on. So if you could get, in this day and age, if you could get a child from 0 to 21, or no, let's say 23 in Nassau, don't have a child, don't have any problems with the police, don't have any problems with drugs, don't have friends that create issues. Child go to church, even if they don't go to church every single day. You want them to accept the Lord, but you can't make them do, but they've been in the church. And you could get the child through school, have a degree, get a job, man. Listen, pat yourself on the back.
Wow, God is good. Let me get some of these comments here. We have been through all generations, and they have only been through a few, I guess, and they won't tell us what to do and all kind of stuff. Someone is saying this is powerful. Jesus is the answer with your born given gift. 2, The next question I have for you, though, you mentioned two boys and a girl. Have you done anything different between the boys and the girl? Are you the same type of father to the boys as you are to the girl?
You know, to be honest, the answer is no, because I think that I did give the boys a little bit more latitude, right? I think I gave the boy, and she says that all the time. You know, she's still holding that against me. Oh, you let them go out with their friends. You let them do this, and you let them do that. I, you know, no,
No.
no.
It's a no.
Yeah, no. I could not. I could not bear the thought of, and mind you, maybe I shouldn't have done it with the boys either. But I held my daughter tighter than I did the boys. I know I did that.
And that's so powerful, right? So I grew up in Beantown, and that's the ghetto, you know, at our standards, that's the ghetto. That's where I grew up my whole life. I moved out of the ghetto at 18. And I remember a boy cursing me one day because he said, you act like you on your high horse. You don't talk to none of us around here. But mommy didn't allow me to play outside in the road. Mommy didn't allow me to walk up and down the street. I wasn't the little girl getting sent to the corner shop. I was always a little, when I said, mommy, can I go outside or can I go by the neighbor? It was get your book in your hand. And so she cracks this joke now and she says, I'm so sorry I didn't let you play outside, because if she throws like keys at me or she say, catch something, I could never catch it. She said she'd take my child away, which is true. But I thank God, because all of the girls that were out in the road, walking up and down, all of the girls that went to the corner store, all of the girls that spoke to the boys on the street are still there. And they love it. So I have no connection to that ghetto life.
Yeah. There's a sacrifice there that the children, in this case daughters. Now, mind you, not that I allowed my sons free reign, because the fact of the matter is, and they would tell you this, when they were invited to parties, to their friends' parties, I would go to the party house and meet the parents ahead of time. And they didn't like that, right? Because nobody else was doing that. I would drive to the party house. If I'd get there early, I'd go and talk to the parents. I'd see where the place is. And they were a little embarrassed. But, you know, I told them, listen, I'm not letting you go anywhere that I am not comfortable you being. I'm not going to do that. And yes, some mouths were long. And there were places that, you know, because, and then I picked them up. They didn't like that either. You know what I mean? But particularly in my daughter, you know, there are parties and places I just didn't let her go. And I, you know, sometimes to this, maybe in another 5 or 10 years when she has children and so forth, she'll come back and say thank you and so forth. But even to this day, sometimes, you know, she talks about, you know, how you let the boys do this and you didn't let me do that, you know. So, but again, no children, no police, no drugs, no bad company problems. And, you know, that was the price. Had to go to church.
Your presence. So we're back to being a present father. What do you think your presence meant in the house? Because we have mothers that are married. We have married single mothers. We have children that have nuclear families. They grow up in the house with mommy and daddy, but daddy ain't saying nothing. Daddy ain't have no rules. Everything goes through mommy. What difference do you think being present what does it mean to be present? Teach us, what does it mean to be a present father?
Well, let me say this, that from the day each of my children were born to now, they have had two things for sure. One, every single day they came home, they know where their father was.
Wow.
From the day they were born to now, every single day they knew where their father was, right?
Wow.
And the other part of that is every single day from the day they were born to now, they know that they had two parents on them every single day. From then to now, even today, Devon at 31, when we talk to him together. You know what I mean? When he calls, he works a lot. So when he calls at night, if he calls he can't call 11 o'clock because I'm in bed, 10, 11 o'clock I'm in bed. But when he calls at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, we talking to him together.
Wow.
So the other part of it is each one of my children, as they were growing up, every Saturday for years, I was the one who took them to their activities on Saturdays. Right? So you see here, if I could show you this here was my life. Yeah, you see that? That's basketball, right?
Uh-huh.
This is the soccer championship.
Wow.
Right? This here is karate. Over here is that. I could go on, right? All of these. That's where I spend my life on Saturdays. Right? You see it? Basketball, right? Soccer.
Wow.
Right? That's where I spent my entire life. When the children swimming, where's the swimming one? Right, the swimming one is somewhere around here. One-on-one preschool, Jonathan Antor, K4 prize given 2005.
2005, one-on-one.
Okay. One-on-one, Shannon Antor, grade 2 prize giving, June 12, 2005.
My God.
That's my life right there.
Present father. A present father.
So if it wasn't soccer, it was, because my daughter, after a while, soccer was too sweaty for her. So I had to go find ballet. I have to go find dance. Drop this one to ballet. Drop that one off to swimming. Drop this one off to soccer. Come back. And then afterwards, we go to Wendy's, spend the day, come home. Then Sabrina comes home from work, dinner. That was my life. And I enjoyed it. I didn't need to be anywhere else.
My God. Gee, that's powerful. I mean, let's stop the show right there. Let's drop the mic. Let me get some of these
the truth.
Comments for you. So you have done well, sir. Mr. Antor, you have been married many years and your kids are successful. I can respect you. This person here, this is a special person, said, well done, Harold. That's Stephanie Dawkins. So GFG needs to...
By the way, another critical part, they talk about it takes a village, right? Well, Stephanie Dawkins is my wife's sister. She is my kid's aunt. And she and her daughter, who is my second daughter, Stacy, they have been integral intricate and incredible part of our lives, helping us to raise our children. You know what I mean? When I needed peace and quiet, we'd send them over to her house. You know, and they would go over by her house. I'm talking about family now. They would go over by her house, and when Grammy was alive, they'd go over there. They remember their mother's mother. That far side, the family. Family is so important. But Steph and Stacy and the other part of the family, particularly them, would take the kids in, and they felt as at home with them. Sometimes even more so, because sometimes when we row them, they just go to them for solace, right? And their aunt would have to console them, and then try to tell them in a way that the parents are right, but they still will give you a hug and a kiss, right? But family is crucial and critical, and they are just as comfortable over at their house as they are at home here. Sometimes they'd even go, even today, my kids would sometimes go over there and spend hours and hours, if not sleep, you know, because they're comfortable, they feel loved. And that's why I'm saying, you know, raising kids is not rocket science. It's love and doing your best.
Love and doing your best. Someone put that in the comments. Love and doing your best. Someone says GFG needs to bring him back as a guest. He has a lot to offer families. We need to bring him back on marriage, 35 years. Anyway, then well done as a father. Everything fathers do make a difference. Mom and dad in the house. Hallelujah. Your children must be so happy that their daddy was there. We need to give an award to Harold Antor.
you know, let me say this, right? I appreciate all those kind words, but my kids don't know what it is to not have a father in the house. They don't know what that means. They don't know that experience, right? So when other people talk about that, they cannot relate to that. There has not been a day in their life that they didn't know where I was.
Wow.
You know, now mind you, my father, if he walked in here today, the only way I would know him is because I look like him. Right? I haven't seen or heard from him for over 40 years for sure. I'm going to be 60 next year, God willing. Yeah, from I was late teens. I haven't seen or heard from the man. Wow. I said, no, I ain't going to do that to my children.
My God.
You know?
We need to learn by experience. What we didn't experience and what we did experience. Yeah.
And you know, let me say this, that even though I don't think about it a whole lot, but I do miss that. Even at 60 years old, I would love to have had a relationship with my father. Wow. I would like, because sometimes I sit down and I think, why didn't he? Sometimes I wonder whether if it had anything to do with me. You know, you do have that thought, right? Then I have to catch myself. I say, it can't be me. I said, but why? Because my father, he seemed to have been a successful guy. He had his own company, his own shop, and his kids seemed to have done well. I met them, if only briefly. And my mother and I were in the Bahamas, struggling. I mean, beyond struggling. You know, for your audience, just so if they're interested, I wrote a book. This is my book here. This is a book on sales. This is not a sales thing, but this is a book on sales, right? And you can buy this book on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. Just go to Amazon.com. Yeah, and put in "Make It Happen, Discover the Secrets to Success." Right? Just put in "Make It Happen," Harold Antor. But the reason I say that is because the first chapters of this book, I share my life story. Right? And it is a story of pain and struggle. But my father and his family were living well. And I think about that. I said, how could you do that? And I say he's living well because I met my sister, I met my younger brother. My older brother was a doctor in Boston. He said all of them seem to be doing well, and my mother, we getting kicked out of houses every other year because she can't pay the rent. You know what I mean? I don't want to go too far into that, but the point I'm making is, if you're going to have children, they did not ask to come here. I think the worst thing you could do in the world is to leave a defenseless child to fend for themselves. I think, the Bible talks about if you do something against children, you might as well take a millstone and wrap it around your neck, and because if this is a defenseless child, you know what I mean? And my mother was not far removed from a defenseless person. She had no education, no. So my father had an affair with this woman who could not read or write, left a child with her and gone about his business. That's wrong, man. It happens so much around here that we think it's commonplace. You have guys around here having 5 children, 10 children, and so forth. So, at some point in time, that becomes so morally reprehensible. It should become illegal, and you should go to jail.
That's good. Come on, speak to dads now.
I'm serious, because the children are defenseless. You know what it costs to feed children and educate children these days? To be able to have a hope of an okay life? Man. So, I thank God that we've been blessed in many ways. And I've worked extremely, extremely hard. And, my children have done well. I'm very, very proud of them. Devon, he works on Wall Street. He's doing very well. In Manhattan on his own. Shannon is doing very well. She's she lived in Spain for a couple of years on her own. She's a teacher of English as a second language. She now is a teacher at Summit Academy. She's doing very well. Jonathan is doing well. He graduated from the top business school in the United Kingdom. He's working at one of the biggest banks in the world, at UBS, right in the city of London. I'm very, very proud of them. But the children are like a pot of soil, right? A pot of good soil. What you put in that soil determines what you get out of that soil.
That's good. You know what I mean? That's good.
If you want roses and so forth, you can't plant potatoes and squash.
Thorns and stuff. Yeah. Oh and man, that's good.
You have to plant roses. That's the love, that's the kisses, that's the nurturing, and making sure that they go to school, and the pruning when they go up. That's how you get a beautiful. Now, mind you, I'm talking like a gardener. I'm not a green thumb, but you understand what I'm saying.
I do understand what you're saying.
That's what children are. And let me tell you, during the pandemic, Sabrina and I, when they lock us up and we couldn't go anywhere, we said that we're going to get into, and I talk about this in my book as well. We're going to get into backyard farming. So we bought these pots and plant, and we put seeds in all of them and so forth. And after a couple of days, they started to grow. We got all excited and so forth. And then about a week or two after that, they started to die. And they all died out. And I was completely frustrated. What did I do wrong, right? Come to find out, we got somebody who does that thing. And they told us, basically, you all suffocated the plants because you put too much seeds in there, and they were fighting for resources, and they couldn't make it. But the point I'm making is that children are just like that, right? They are good, rich soil, because the brains are able to absorb what it is that you put in there. Right? And so be careful what you put in there. Don't plant thorns, which is bad company and cussing around the children and bad self-image and you no good and your mom no good, your pa no good, and you ain't gonna be nothing. And come on, man. You know what I mean? Children are supposed to be your greatest accomplishment, your pride. When I hear my kids doing well, I mean, the entire day, all I'm doing is smiling because I'm happy for them. You know what I mean? That's one person that the police ain't got to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Jesus. On that note, and we're going to wrap this up, right? So on that note, you told us a lot of the successes. The children are very successful. They're making it on their own, right? Is there anything that you wish you did differently or that you would advise the other father, the next father, to do different?
You know, there are, from time to time, I think about things that I could have done more of, right? And because I started out very late in life. Like I said, I went to college when I was 25, right? So sometimes I said if I had spent a little bit more time with my kids, you know, reading to them, if I had spent more time working with them, because I did spend a lot of time with their schoolwork and stuff, but maybe if I'd spent a little bit, I don't know. Maybe we'll spend a little more time in higher education. All of my kids went to boarding school, right? They went to boarding school. That's another story in itself. But I don't know. I'd have to ask them if there's anything I could have done. But sometimes I think, man, I could have done a little better here and there. I'm just happy that I got through without the police, without any baby mamas or baby daddies, without any drug problems. Listen, some of the problems I hear that people experience with their children is there's this particular case that we know of. It's a family friend where the father and the mother got in an argument and disagreement. Mind you, when we knew the children, they were all living together in the same family. The father somehow poisoned the daughter and mentally, and the daughter has not been talking to the mother for years. The daughter doesn't talk to the mother. Could you imagine a child not talking to a parent? And that was not the only case I've heard of. I was like, how could that happen? You know, my children talk to me. We go on family vacations together. They want to. We were at breakfast the other day with Shannon. This was last year when she was 26, and a friend of mine. We were at with the place name because we always go out with them, and but they want to come. They're adults now. They don't have to come. They want to come, right? They want to travel with us and be with us. And last year we went to LA. The year before that we went to other places. But we're traveling together as a family, and they are all adults. You know, I wish they'd pay more, but that's a different story. I leave that one alone. But my point is that they travel with us.
They enjoy being with you.
And so one guy who was with us, I mean, who was having breakfast, I introduced him to, hey, this is my daughter, and this is my wife. He said, what, your daughter? How old is she? She's 26, and she still won't be around you? I was like, yeah. I mean, that question threw me off because in my mind, they're around me all the time. You know what I mean? They're around me all the time. But to him, it was a novelty that a 26-year-old still wanted to be around their parents. I didn't stop to think about that. But when I did, I was like, you know what? That's true. You know? So I'm sure there are things that we could have done better. We can spend a little bit more time. But I thank God that what we have done has maintained a relationship among us. I can call in fact, if they're listening to this, they can call me tonight. I know them.
Right.
They probably, and Stacy as well, who is another daughter of mine, who I'm very, very proud of. She's done extremely well, and things in her situation could have gone either way. You know how that is. And we have a great relationship, and that is what life is about right there. That is what life is about right there. It isn't a whole lot of money, even though, yeah, I wish I had more, right? It isn't, it is having to be able to enjoy the time with. Last year, I celebrated my birthday. I called my son in New York because London was a little far. I said, Devon, I want you to come down for my birthday. He flew down, paid his own money and so forth. And he was here. That's the picture that you have there in your promo. He came down just for the day, for my birthday, and he went back to New York. That meant the whole world to me.
That's amazing. So in closing, this is the final one now. When do you let them go? When do you say, okay, I've done everything?
For me, that's a hard one. And I am sure if Stephanie Dawkins, if she's listening, right, and I know she is, and Stacy and anybody else who knows me and knows how I am, they would very well say that no, I have not let my children go yet, right? Jonathan is
that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think maybe I am lingering around probably too much in my own mind and heart. Jonathan is in London, and that hurts me every day. I wish he was here. You know what I mean? Because he's the last one. Mine, he's 25 years old. I was married when I was 25, right? But still, Shannon is here with us. She came back and she's living at home, but the answer to that is I don't know. I don't know if you ever let them go. You just give them more rope.
Give them more room. Oh, that's good. Mr. Antor.
Yeah, give them more rope. I don't know if you ever because the other day she had a problem and she called me, right? I was in the office. Oh, Daddy, I got this problem. She had a car problem, so I had to stop what I was doing and I had to go down there. So I think you could ask the question the other way too. When do they let you go as the parent?
Nobody let go of the saddle now. Come on now. No, nobody voluntarily lets go of the saddle. We gonna ride this till the wheels.
You know what I mean? Because Devon and Jonathan, they still call me and ask my opinion on this and so forth and so on. So yeah.
Well, this Stacey Dean popped up and she said, you did great. She said, I'm listening. He's still holding on to them strong. And that's not a bad thing.
Because trust me, Stacey knows.
So I want to say thank you on behalf of GFG, on behalf of every God's favorite guy that you helped today and God's favorite girl. Listen, that's a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom that you impart on us. We got to have you back again. I agree with the listeners. We got to have you back again because so many stories, because we only get bits and pieces of these stories. But we want to dive right into a couple of these stories. There's a lot that we need to learn. So once again, thank you so much, Mr. Antor. You are an incredible father. You did an amazing job. I know your children very well, and I know that you're proud, and I am proud of them and proud of knowing them and being a part of the journey with them. I could remember dropping them to swimming classes and soccer. So we know, right? So we want to say thank you so much and happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Until next week, guys. What's happening next week? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Sorry again for the delay and the technical difficulties, but anything man's made, it could let you down. The hands of flesh will fail you, right? but we trust in God, our Savior. Mr. Antor, any final words before we cut off?
Well, seeing that we're talking about fatherhood and parenting, I'll leave with three things, as I've been saying, just to reiterate. Number one, be present. You know, like I said, my children from the day they were born to this day, they always know where I am. I've always been there. I didn't do that to get a pat on the back. I felt responsible for them. You know, they were my responsibility to make sure that they got through okay. And even to this day, that's my responsibility, right? So that's one. The other thing is love your children. You know, if you are going to say I love you to anyone, the best people in the world to say I love you to is your wife and your children and your family. I mean, yeah. So don't withhold that from them. Today, every time we get off the phone, we say love you. Right? Even the Devon in New York, love you. He's 31 years old. We still loving him. Johnny in London, Shannon is here. You know, I still kiss her on the cheek, give her a hug every now and then. Love your children, you know, and let them know that you love them. And then the last thing is do the best that you can.
Do your best.
You know, you don't have a whole lot of money. My mother was a dishwasher, a Haitian woman with no education, dishwasher, didn't make any money. We lived. We were poor, but she made sure that we went to school, got an education, and went to church. That's what I have to leave with you.
Be present. Love them. Do your best.
Do your best.
School and church.
Yep. Education is a way out, and church is a way out of trouble. You know, no police, no drugs, no bad company. No, you know. Amen. And you hang on for that for 25 years. Next thing you know, you almost out the woods.
My God, what is faithful. Thank you, Mr. Antor, and happy Father's Day to you. To all the viewers out there, Father's Day is coming up. Happy Father's Day to you. To the moms who are playing the role as a father, happy Father's Day to you too. To the mentors who may not have their biological children, but they adopted some children, happy Father's Day to you. Amen. Until next time, bye.
You've been eavesdropping on EeezDrop, and we appreciate it. You've been listening to unscripted, candid conversations, and we truly hope it's helped to change your life. We never force our beliefs on anyone. We're here to foster connections and spark evolution, and we hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at God's Favorite Girl, on Instagram and Facebook at GFG Evolution, and the website at godsfavoritegirl.org. See you next time on EeezDrop.